Hi, this is Jeff, and I'm going to walk you through how to get the artwork ready for the 20-foot wide by 8-foot tall Triga straight wall display with curved ends. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to drag the template into Photoshop. So I recommend using Photoshop. You can use Illustrator as well, but I do prefer Photoshop. A little bit easier to work with to get the layout just right. So now that we have the template open in Photoshop, what we're going to do first is we're going to look at a couple things. One, we want to make sure that it's in CMYK mode. So if I look up here in the document, it says CMYK. If it is RGB, you're going to want to convert that before you get started, and you can do that by going to Image, Mode, and then just make sure it's selected on CMYK. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the resolution. And you can do that by going to Image, Image Size, and under resolution, it says here 125 dpi, which is correct. So this template is already at 100% size. So this is the full 20-foot mural, and we want this to be set at 125 dpi. So once we know that those are good, we're ready to get started. So a couple things. It's important to point out that you want to design literally right on top of this template. So what you can do is you can keep the template as its own separate layer. So on the right-hand side under Layers, just make sure that it's separate from all the other design assets that you're going to be adding in, like your pictures and your logos. And that's because when we're all done, we're either going to hide the template or we're going to just delete it altogether and then flatten the finished artwork. So now you're ready to go ahead and get started. You're going to notice there's obviously some different colors going on here. There's the red on the outside. That's going to be the bleed area. So that's where it's going to be kind of the space where it's going to get cut and stitched and sewn after this fabric gets printed out. And so what you want to do is you want to go ahead and extend the background all the way into the bleed. Just make sure you don't put any important information like any of the text or logos anywhere near that red area. And the yellow is going to be the area on this display where it curves on the end. So it gives it that nice finished look. So on the left hand side, you're going to notice that it curves around a little bit to the left, and then same also on the other side. So on the right here, it's going to curve on the right a little bit. Same thing, don't put any of the text or any important information on the very ends because we don't want the text to wrap around or roll off the page, if you will. So now that brings us to the orange. The orange is just denoting where it's getting close. Okay, so the orange on the top here, it's getting a little close to the edge. So again, keep text, logos, anything important that your attendees are going to be reading within this green area, because the orange is getting a little bit close. It'll be fine, it'll be visible, but it may not look quite right. You want it a little bit more centered. All right, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of some artwork that's already finished and fits this template nicely, and it'll give you a good idea of what we're looking for. Okay, so here's an example of some artwork that fits the template really well, and I know that because if I go over to the artwork layer and I right-click and I go to blending options, if I change the opacity down, you can see that the template is right underneath it. So this gives us a good idea of the position, how everything's going to look. We can make sure that the logo is not too close to the edge or in the bleed area. So once we have that, and that looks good, we want to check the resolution and the quality of the images. And we can do that by on a PC pressing Control and plus, and we just zoom all the way in until about 1 inch equals 1 inch in real life on your computer screen. So here's 119 inches and here's 120 inches. That's about 1 inch in real life. And now we can use the navigator tool, where is it? And we can comb around and we can look to make sure that the quality is okay and get an idea that the images are going to work out. So what you see here on the screen, how it looks on the screen is exactly how it's going to print out. So that's a good indicator. And so we can look around, see that the logo is nice and crisp and everything looks good. So to zoom back out, you press Control minus, and we're just about there. So one thing that you want to do when you think you're just about done creating the artwork is you want to go ahead and save a copy of the working layered file. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to have that copy in case you need to make any edits now or in the future. So once you've done that, then you're ready to go ahead and delete or hide the template layer. I usually just drag and delete it. You can also hide it but you just want to get rid of it because now we're just going to be left with our finished artwork. So now we're ready to go. One last step before saving it is you want to go to Layer and Flatten. So all those layers that you've been working on, now it's time to just have the one file, the one finished artwork, and you can do that by just going to Layer and then Flatten. It's also going to make the file a little bit more manageable to upload and to work with. So now you're ready to go ahead and save it. You just go to File and Save As. And usually for a document this big, it's not going to let you save it as a PDF. If it does, great. But usually a large Photoshop document file, a .psb, is going to be fine. So you just want to make sure to go ahead and flatten it and then save it as a .psb file. And that's going to be the file that you're going to want to upload and be able to print off of. So if you have any questions, of course, let me know and I'm happy to help. Thanks a lot.